In the heat of the Burmese jungle, where the air hung heavy with rain and the ground turned to sucking mud beneath each step, war came not only on the backs of men and machines, but on the broad, patient shoulders of elephants. The canopy above was a living ceiling, dripping leaves, darting birds, the occasional crash of a branch as something unseen moved through the green. Beneath it, columns of soldiers trudged forward, their boots sinking deep, their uniforms clinging to their skin. And among them, the slow, deliberate tread of giants. Among those giants was one who would outlive the war, outlive the soldiers who marched beside him, and become a symbol of endurance for an entire nation. His name was Lín Wàng, but when his story began, he was not yet Lín Wàng. He was simply a young Asian elephant, born around 1917 in British-ruled Burma, working in the forests where elephants had hauled timber for centuries, their strength shaping the very towns and railways that threaded through the land. The Second World War swept into Southeast Asia like a monsoon, sudden, overwhelming, and impossible to ignore. The Japanese army advanced through the jungles, seizing territory, resources, and animals. Elephants were prized for their strength, their ability to move where trucks could not, to carry artillery through terrain that would swallow wheels whole. They could cross rivers without bridges, climb slopes too steep for engines, and work in silence where the roar of machinery would give away a position. Captured from his handlers, the young elephant was pressed into service for the Japanese. Day after day, he hauled supplies, dragged heavy guns, and waded through rivers under the crack of commands he did not understand. His world was the mud, the weight, and the endless march, the smell of gun oil and sweat, the sting of insects, the ache in his muscles that never quite faded. In 1943, the tide shifted. The Chinese Expeditionary Force, fighting alongside Allied troops, clashed with Japanese units in the Burma Campaign, a brutal theatre of war where disease claimed almost as many lives as bullets. In the aftermath of one battle, several elephants were taken from the enemy, among them the young bull who would one day be called Lín Wàng. Under the command of General Sun Li-jen, the elephants were put to work for the Chinese forces. They hauled artillery pieces up steep jungle tracks, carried supplies across rivers, and even helped build bridges. Their trunks curling around logs, their massive feet tamping down the earth to make it firm enough for men and mules to cross. The soldiers gave each elephant a name. His was Ah Mei, meaning the beautiful, though in time it would change. Work was relentless. The Burma Campaign was one of the most grueling theatres of the war. Heat that pressed down like a weight, rain that turned paths into rivers, and the constant threat of ambush. Men and animals alike fell to exhaustion. Of the original 13 elephants in the unit, only a handful would survive the long march north. Ah Mei was among them. Step by step, he carried his loads through the monsoon rains, over mountains, and into China. The soldiers grew fond of him. They spoke to him as they would a comrade, and he learned their voices, their scents, their moods. Some swore he could sense danger before they could, pausing, ears fanning out before the crack of gunfire in the distance. When the war ended in 1945, the elephant service was not yet over. In 1947, General Sun was posted to Taiwan, and he brought with him 3 surviving elephants, May among them. The journey across the sea was another trial: the roll of the ship, the unfamiliar salt air, the cramped quarters. But the elephants endured, swaying with the waves, their trunks reaching out to touch one another for reassurance. In Taiwan, they were stationed at an army base in Kaohsiung. There they hauled logs, moved heavy equipment, and took part in ceremonial duties. Over the years, the other elephants died until only May remained. By then, the soldiers had begun calling him Lín Wàng, King of the Forest, though a newspaper misprint changed the second character in his name, which changed the meaning to prosperous. The mistake stuck, and so did the affection. In 1954, Lín Wàng was given to the Taipei Zoo. For the first time in his life, he was not a beast of burden. He was a star. Children came in droves to see him. They brought him treats, bananas, sugarcane, sweet potatoes, and sometimes the occasional contraband snack smuggled in from home. He learned to take food gently from small hands, his trunk curling with surprising delicacy. He would rumble softly when familiar keepers approached, a sound felt as much as heard. Over the decades, Lín Wàng became more than an exhibit. He was a fixture of the city, a living link to a war that was fading into memory. Generations grew up visiting him, their parents telling them, "This elephant was a soldier once." In the 1980s, the zoo moved to a new location in Muja. Lín Wàng's relocation was a public event covered by the media. By then, he was already in his 60s, an age when most elephants have long since passed. Yet he remained calm, dignified, and endlessly patient with the crowds who came to see him. Children clutched balloons, parents lifted them onto shoulders for a better view, and Lín Wàng, steady as ever, walked into his new home as though he had always belonged there. As the years passed, his skin grew more wrinkled, his movements slower, but his eyes, dark, steady, and wise, still watched the world with quiet interest. In 2003, at the age of 86, Lín Wàng died. His passing was met with an outpouring of grief. Thousands came to his funeral, flowers piled high, children wept. For many, it felt as though a beloved elder had gone, one who had carried not only the weight of war, but the weight of memory. Today, his mounted remains are displayed at the Taipei Zoo, not as a trophy, but as a tribute. Statues, stamps, and books keep his story alive. And in the hearts of those who knew him, whether in person or through the tales passed down, Lín Wàng remains the gentle giant who walked through war and into history. From the jungles of Burma to the streets of Taipei, Lín Wàng's life was a journey of endurance, loyalty, and quiet strength. He carried guns, he carried logs, he carried the laughter of children, and in the end, he carried the memory of a century. History often remembers the battles, the leaders, the dates. But sometimes it is an elephant who teaches us the truest lessons, that strength can be gentle, that service can be silent, and that even the heaviest burdens can be carried with grace. Lín Wàng's march is over, but his story still walks beside us.